Okay, so we're finally updating the global tier list. Look how long it's been since I've made a global tier list. Guys, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 new units have been out or confirmed. So I know some people are going to be like, oh, Gikku, but Mecha Mario and Panda aren't in game. Yeah, but they've been confirmed. So I'm not going to make another like tier list later just to include fucking Mecha and Panda. So I'm going to include it now since we know they are the next units. Now, this is on global. So we're going to update everything. And also, well, to tell you my like credentials, quote unquote, I've gotten to floor 55 on JP, have not done global yet because I want to wait to get Hanami, and I've been very lazy with my global account to get the Phantom medals, but I could have gotten Hanami already. But once I get Hanami, I will be testing Tower on global with Mahito and Hanami for most of the stages, okay? I'm going to give more details later on that, but I mean, I did most of Tower before 50, obviously, without Domain Gojo, without Sukuna. So I think it's like 47 or 48 that I started using Domain Gojo. But then I didn't even need Domain Gojo for all the floors. So, you know, anyway. So I know a good amount about Tower, and this is a Tower tier list, okay? Tower tier list on their best setups, all right? And any DPS or unit that's more universal is going to be considered better, right? For example, mainly for DPSs, like Mahito or Sukuna in the future, but Sukuna's not on this list, obviously. Thankfully, we don't have any mono units, so it's not a problem. But now let's start updating this tier list. Last time I did it, I think was a Ghetto update, which is crazy. All right, it's crazy. So, what we're going to do is just fix the tiers. So, anyone who I think is not important is getting kicked out. So, Mekamaru, Panda, Inumaki, okay. And then that's it. That's it. The rest, add Miwa. No, Miwa's gonna stay. Miwa's gonna stay. So now let's organize C tier. Okay. Well, no, we're gonna do the changes first, and then afterwards we're gonna go into it. So far, I mean, Maki has to go up because her break damage is actually very useful, much more useful than red Maki's. You might not think so, but also this is what it looked like before the tier list, right? We just saw it. It definitely, she did get a nice buff, but it's not as if she was completely useless beforehand, okay? And what I mean is, like, if you see here, like, the taijutsu damage is pretty much the same. They just increased her break damage, which is for sure amazing. But she was not horrible before. She had a decent double AoE, which was definitely nice. So you could if you want to make a case for her, I would understand it, for sure. For sure. I think later on in her buffed mode, she's probably A tier even, but B tier, I'm happy with it. Now, Blue Gumi makes sense. Nanami is going up to A. All right, he's going up to A. Now, Junpei goes in the niche tier because his niche, people are like, not really, I haven't seen so many people talk about him on global, and the reason is he's not on standard. Units that people don't have are not going to be talked about until they're on standard. But basically what he does is he just decreases the enemy's Jujutsu by 31, well 32 essentially. And you could just keep on stacking this against Jujutsu enemies and they could do literally 0 damage. With Mahito and Junpei together, Mahito could take 0 damage, just saying. So it's pretty crazy. And then afterwards, Miwa is going into niche because her taunt, right? So the taunts alongside a Toto or something like that allow for a very unique play style that I personally do not use, but I've seen a lot of people vouch for. And then afterwards, we got Shoko in A because a lot of people do like her. She's very good at healing and stuff like that. So we have to move Panda down because this guy just doesn't do much if we're being real. He's a wasted slot in most of the cases. I'm sorry. When he gets buffed, he could definitely go up, but for right now, his damage is not that crazy. Like, afterwards, I mean, shit, his taijutsu buff is a lot higher, and then even higher later with more damage, but right now, it's not, I don't know, it's not anything crazy. At least, I'm pretty sure we're on the first buff, right? I think so. I think we're on the first buff. The thing is, though, like, he's doing everything, but it's still 25 cursed energy, right? 25 is a lot. For one time AoE, no. Right, it's still a lot. Okay, like you could use it turn 1, which is great. I just don't see the value. If you want to put him in B tier, more than understanding. He does not go in niche, even if he has taunt, because his cursed energy is too high. Where, for example, well, I mean, I guess I could put it now. Yellow Panda is gonna go there, but why is Yellow Panda gonna go there? Well, if we check, right, we could see that his taunt is actually. Oh, I think. Okay, hold on. I actually thought it was lower, not 40, so I did kind of disprove myself. I think I'm fine putting Panda here then. I think if you could argue it, right? You could argue it. This Panda for sure is the best versus single target, obviously. But bro, his taunt is a 2-turn single target though, but 10 cursed energy, 10, right? It's a lot better, right? The red Panda, in my opinion, is a lot better. But he has the AoE. They have the AoE. You could even argue that yellow Panda does it a little better in the way that he no, they're pretty equal. Yeah, no, actually. Yeah, I'm fine putting Panda here. Never mind, my bad. I thought that yellow Panda was not that high CE, so little mistake on my part. I'm fine putting him in very good. Had to work through that. So next up, Inumaki. He's worthless. Okay, he's worthless. I'm sorry, but you're not really gonna find uses. Like, it's better just not dying than having to rely on Inumaki, right? You're better having a damage reduction unit than using this guy because it's just pathetic and worthless, right? Now, next up, let me see here. She has to move up, okay? Hanami is absolutely amazing, for sure, right? Hanami provides amazing damage lowering, and then also can cancel other domains like Mahito's to allow him to get his ult quicker. But then I've heard a lot of counts about her actually doing them doing good damage. It's not a lot, but it's still AoE, so it still is something. And they do heal a lot, right? Very good. Very good healing. And I would definitely say Mahito is deserving of the S ranking. Momo also goes up very good because Momo is basically doing the same thing as Red Nanami, but a bit better even. I'll give a little breakdown right now, actually. So, if we check, right, Nanami's damage increase is about, you'll have active, like, for one specific attack, you'll have 140%. And then if you look here, Momo's just got 140%, right? But you can only use it once. So it's like, it does depend. But in certain cases, like for Gojo's especially, you could get the full damage increase because they could just buff once and then you have this full damage, right? And she's a green supporter, which is very good if you have Hollow Purple to use it with Momo, because then she also gives evasion status and it's 20 CE where Nanami costs upwards of 80, right? I personally rather Momo. Also, her skill 3 is way more useful if you need it, and her ult is actually insanely good. AoE stun with dodge, and then yeah, no, I like it. Even this is not bad. It gives extra. So I personally think they're on the same tier. That's my opinion. Now, Kaido and Inumaki go up. Kaido is just so good for all of the top DPSs. The only unit he cannot work with is Degumi, because if Degumi gets more cursed energy, he wants to be below the threshold so he could get his ult gauge, and Kaido can't work with that. But for a lot of these units, all the Gojos, even Geto is great with this guy. Even Nobara if you want, because she has a pretty high CE cost too. It's very good. Very good to have Kaido. I love using Kaido. My goat, right? My goat for real. So I would even put this guy in niche because I just don't see him being used too much. But when you're using him for like taunt strats, he works very well. Like if you need to use someone, he's in a niche, very good role to me. He's not anything too crazy, but he's most certainly not bad. Now this Itadori goes down because there is a better Itadori that I'm sure you guys are aware of. But except for that, right, that's kind of it. That is it. Now we go into like the other units that we forgot. So Ijichi has some uses, so I'm putting him in B because he gives ult gauge, damage reduction, and taijutsu. So like even taking out the taijutsu, he could lower damage, right? Which is good alongside this ult gauge. And sure, his ult is high, but it still is something, right? So he's someone like decent. He could serve a role, right? Got to keep that in mind. Now, next up, I don't know, did the music end? I guess it ended. So, next up, we got to put Saki in here because she has a nice taunt, and usually that could work well with Toto, right? And I'm trying to think if there's someone else that I'm forgetting, but I think that's kind of it. All of these guys I kind of have unranked, right? So, nothing to really do about it. Those are the guys that not really providing much value, at least anymore on global. Like, if you put a D tier, maybe they could be there, but I'm not ranking them. I'm only ranking units with some form of value, right? So now let's go into this. Mahito's S plus because he just works everywhere in tower. He could work as a sub DPS on any floor. He could work as a main DPS if you need to in a stall team. And he's just great. You don't need me to glaze him. You all already know, right? You all already know. Now, next up, Toji also goes here, obviously. He has very nice survivability, right? He's able to heal himself, has a 20% chance to dodge, which in my showcase, at least, you could see that he does actually proc it, right? And then he has, well, damage reduction, heal, and dodge, right? It's a nice little combo with good damage, so you really cannot discount it at all. He could also remove buffs, which can be very good for certain floors, but he is going to solidify this placement when floor 52 comes out. I think it's 52. It's the one where you have to remove the damage reduction to win. So, yeah, I definitely think that Toji deserves his placement here. Now, Momo also is amazing. Like, right now on Global, probably the second best support after Degumi. No, it's like right there. Also, they're not ranked in tiers, but doesn't matter. Yeah, so she is the second best support, I'd say, after Degumi. If you want overall, like, you could even say Momo is better. Because, like, Degumi, it's a one-time thing, where Momo, it's during the whole game. So, you know, Momo, you could definitely argue for her being better. And then she has the dodges, which is just so clutch. It is. Hollow Purple, you don't even need me to say it. He's just a nuker. Also, the lowering of the ult gauge when he leaves is really big. In case Mahito comes in, it gives you an extra turn maybe to play around with no ults. And then also Momo could lower the ults lower, which is, like, that's why I love Momo so much. She just does so much. I mean, shit, they really gave us a lot of good units. Because now we also have Tinjo. And Tinjo is right now the highest DPS unit in the game. Could do the most damage. And, I mean, listen, if you have Tinjo, you could also clear some of the floors with type disadvantage with Tinjo. Which I think I'm going to make a video on that at some point. Because he's just so good, right? So good. Now, next up, Ghetto. Really good because he's a sub DPS who could do damage on those single target floors while supporting. Okay, and what's great is a lot of the units right now are Jujutsu, at least for actually no, not really right now. It's more later, but like in Megumi, Nobara, even Mekamaru, Muta, right? But right now, he's decent. He could do his own damage and work with Hollow Purple, right? It's the only unit he could really work with because it's very hard to make use of Itadori. And what I say by that is because Ghetto's skill 3, which gives the Taijutsu, costs 25. The problem with it costing 25 is that he's only getting 20 CE per turn. So you got to play a bit differently because you also have to be above 30 cursed energy when you use this to give the extra Taijutsu. Could it work with Itadori? Sure, it's just going to be a bit more difficult. But he's definitely good to do his own damage while still supporting. So definitely a big W. Like I said, in his max role, he is S+, is basically how this goes. Now, Nanami is on the cusp of S+. I'm honestly not, like, I feel like putting him S+ is not wrong because his ult is so strong. Essentially, why this ult does so much damage is because the Black Flash multiplier on this hit, which is a guaranteed Black Flash and type advantage, guaranteed, is also, it's a 100% multiplier instead of like 50%. We checked inside the files and it's a 100% multiplier for this final hit of Black Flash, which is why Nanami does so much. And then once you hit that Black Flash, you're going to start like just spiraling in damage. I think I'm going to put him in S+, because in my own ratings, it's like being a universal DPS does help, and he's always there as a sub DPS. So I think S+ for Nanami right now is good, but he's quickly going to get taken out when Sukuna and Domain Gojo come. I think that over time, when we get better DPSs on his tier, he's going down, right? Oh, man, I don't even know. I really don't, guys. Like, you could argue for either or, and I wouldn't even be mad about which one you personally pick. I don't know, guys. My thing is, like, his damage is good, but it's only this part that counts. The type disadvantage, he doesn't have the Mahito save, right? Where he could dodge, or has damage reduction. Or Sukuna, where he heals himself every turn. Or Gojo's, where they have attack immunity. So, I think for me, I'm putting him here because there's a much higher chance for him to die in the runs than the other DPSs that could be used in any color, right? You could argue for S+, but I'm going to keep him in S. Let me know if you disagree with that point. I would love to hear your personal reasonings, okay? I could see either or, but I'm going with my gut and putting S, all right? Now, Yuji is also very fucking good. Like, I mean insanely good, okay? Why that is because this guy, his ult is insanely high while putting a debuff. And why the debuff is good is because then afterwards you could do another attack, right? You could even buff yourself again and then do another attack. And it's like, bro, look at this. Look at this. It's an insane attack when you also include this debuff. And the last hit performing a Black Flash is really big. And look at all this. When you do Black Flash, increases Taijutsu. When you do crit, increases own crit rate. So it's like, he works very well. Damage is super high. I don't really need to say much more. Now, Red Nobara is also on this tier. Okay. This guy, I was thinking of Ghetto. I'm going to talk about Ghetto right after, but Nobara is very good, has a nice skill 3, and could also apply AoE nails, so it's good. Now, why I put Ghetto here, I'm not arguing S+, but S, I could definitely argue, because he has nice debuffs, but he's definitely missing that little something to really go higher. He does some damage while also having a nice skill 2 debuff as of right now, if you play it to where either you use him with Kaido, or you wait a couple turns, and then you debuff, right? Because once you wait a couple turns, you're going to get the max debuffs possible, right? Now, Kamo's actually pretty good. Like, when I looked at him again, I'm like, his damage isn't as bad as, like, you would think, right? I'm actually interested. Where does they have, where do they have Kamo? Like, I'm genuinely just, okay, he's an A tier. All right, that makes sense. That makes sense, I guess. Now, what I mean by that is, like, look at this buff. You could stack this twice. You give yourself like about, we could say like 70 to 80% damage increase, flowing red scale, and then he gives himself extra CE, right? And he also does have an AoE when he uses this afterwards. For 200%, it's a pretty decent AoE, not amazing, but with the buffs is nice. And then here, it's 1300 single target, but then you're also getting an extra 30%, which is really good. And then, I mean, once he gets buffed, oh yeah, he's going to be quite a bit better. Like, there's a lot of extra things you see here, and it's 5 turn stacks, right? So definitely gonna be good. And yeah, I mean, if his ult gauge was a bit lower, I think you could definitely argue him pretty high, but his damage is definitely not a B tier damage just yet, right? Now, Blue Yuji is also going in A tier. He's about as good as Green Yuji, but like, he does a bit different things. His damage is relatively the same, and why it's about the same, only in single target instances, but they are all single target, where he gets an extra 55% damage when he continues hitting the same person, right? But then he also is able to save himself once with a decent ult damage amount of 930, alongside his 55% increase and giving crit rate. You're going to be able to do some pretty good damage while giving ult gauge increase, so definitely he's nice. Not S tier level. Like, I wouldn't put him next to Red Yuji, because Red Yuji's damage is like, it's just better. It is just better. Like, that's it. But he does do nice support. I'm just not the biggest fan of the support in general, because you shouldn't be dying anyway, but I digress my point, okay? Now, next up, Toto is C tier right now, because he doesn't have the massive damage increases that he really has on JP. Like, he has this part. Oh, he doesn't. Does he not? He gets it afterwards. Well, he gives himself some taijutsu and damage, but later on it gets a lot higher. But like, his damage, like, the problem is he's not getting many Takata chans, right? Because after the buff, he gets some to self at the beginning, but now he has to use his buff, right? And it's once, so you have to keep on using it for it to really get up there. He's not like the worst ever, but I don't see the most value in him at all. Now, Mecha Maru also is not really that good yet. You could use him as a break unit, which is like, it's alright. But once he gets buffed, he becomes a complete demon. But I didn't even know, guys, he didn't have the 250% damage increase or even a bit of damage increase before his buff. Like, he gets way stronger afterwards, but his little break damage is nice, has a decent ult multiplier, and he can counter, which does keep him alive in some cases, but it's like, it's whatever, right? It is whatever. He's not super crazy yet, but he has that little break if you do need it. And then Panda's in the niche tier, and then we can remove this, because of the fact that, oh, I think we have some things wrong, but I'm going to check afterward. Oh, right, here we go. I do think there is someone that's misplaced in the tier list, but I'm not really sure. Oh, Toto. What the fuck is Toto doing there? Anyway, there we go. So Panda has a very nice like amount of cursed energy cost. He takes 10 for his taunt. Even if it's single target, it's a 2-turn single target taunt. And then the SP makes it AoE, which is insane, but this is going to be very good, okay, if you need some niche ability. These are all the niche units in my opinion. besides that, I think I'm pretty happy with this tier list. Is there anyone I want to kind of talk about? Ghetto is obviously going to go higher. Like, a lot of these units are going to change as we get more buffs. But stay tuned for those, definitely. I didn't know Yuji was just not really... Green Yuji was not that crazy beforehand. Now, you could still do good, but the biggest thing afterwards, just to talk about it, is that he has an like extra chance, essentially, to Black Flash on his skill 3, which is huge. And then, obviously, he's also getting this extra Taijutsu amount, and he recovers CE, which he didn't before. Which before was only giving the Black Flash free when he Black Flashed, which is like definitely not as good. And obviously his ult did get increased that little amount, but because Yuri's going to have a higher chance to Black Flash, and now it gives him extra Black Flash and crit damage, like this ult becomes way stronger, which he did not have access to before. So he's only an A tier unit, where later he's going to become S tier. But I digress. Let me know what you think of this tier list. There's for sure some placements you're going to disagree with, because that's the nature of tier lists. Now I just want to put two things below, two little notices. Tower only tier list, okay. And then also not ranked in order within the tiers, smiley face. Okay, so just make sure you understand this part, okay. Tower only tier list, not ranked within order, in order within the tiers. And this is the tier list. So we got a lot of units coming out in JP, but honestly, we've done a big amount recently, so that's it. It's been about 2 months since I made these, so I'm like, why not update it to more recent knowledge, at least for me. And I'll see you in the next one. Let me know what you think of this, and have a good day, good night, or a good afternoon. I'll see you in the next one. Definitely go watch the latest solo leveling episode, and bye-bye.